leadership is basically leading people. And one of the best way to simplify leadership is using image, the power of pictures. An example will be, I want you both to imagine that you're on a plane and you're before it start to take off, you are very tired, and you see that flight attendants is actually try to explain the safety, which is the life jacket. Unfortunately, you're so tired, so you fall asleep. All of a sudden, when you wake up, you see everyone's panic, and everyone's wearing the life jacket. And you have no idea how to do this, and you have no idea what to do, and because you weren't paying attention for the instruction. So what do? Basically, what happened is that the situation is they provided a very simple instruction in the front of the patch, and this patch shows that illustration of how we're able to exit with using pictures. So instead of using words, they use pictures. What happened is that instead of translating to a different language, because there could be a lot of different nationality, they use pictures, the power of a picture, to illustrate the language between. One of the concepts that Dan is describing is, we can see, people can see. It means that if we have a simple visuals, if we're able to see the visual, understand the visual, that means everybody else able to observe and able to communicate to get what we see. I'll provide a historical example. Does anybody know what does the Boeing company do?
Airplanes.
That's right. They build airplanes. The example I'm going to show you of the example of the power of picture is that the Boeing company is planning to build a plane called 787. 787 is a huge plane. It's a global plane, and it needs a lot of actual work to actually build it up. Boeing actually going to diversify the whole plane into sections and then separate it into different parts. And each part has been assigned to a different country, such as United States, Canada, Australia, Japan, Korea, and Europe. Why? Because of efficiency. But instead of sending them reports of telling them what to do, they send them blueprints, which is visuals, saying that this is look like this, and I want you to build it to look like that. So all of a sudden, when all the countries, when they build it, United States assembled it, and here is the 787. What the main message is that the common language is pictures. It doesn't matter that you can write an essay or a lot of paragraphs. As long as we have clear pictures, we're able to communicate with one individuals. However, something happened to the plane. They cannot fly the plane. Something is wrong. Something is malfunction. So what happened is that they're trying to figure out what it is. And the day they're going to launch it, it's getting near. If they cannot find a problem, the media will capture it, and then there goes the investment. So the engineers from Boeing company, they're trying to figure out where is the problem. So what they did is they look at the blueprint. Instead of looking at the reports, they trace it back to figure out what went wrong. So they figure out is one of the batteries. I'm not sure if you know about the batteries for the 787. Is that the big battery here is a combination of small batteries. During that time they can't make the big ones, so they combine the small ones together to make a big one. So they took the picture of blueprint of the battery, and then they made it into diagrams to figure out what went wrong, and then they located it on the plane to figure out, oh, there's a one malfunction battery, and then that's how they made it work. After they fix the problem, the plane can able to fly. So another message that I want to get across is using simple diagrams to see problems. So instead of looking at the reports, if we have a simple pictures, we're able to see the problem easily because picture is worth 1,000 words. Picture leads us. What happens in a leadership? sometimes we use pictures to help us to convince other people. So one of Dan's quote is, "To lead requires vision, and vision requires pictures." Visionaries, leaders, they have a vision of what the outcome looks like. They don't put that on a paper. They don't put that on the essay, and they don't put that on the report. They have a vision of what it looks like, what's the color of the success, and what does it look like, how many people involved. It's that they can paint the pictures. So picture is actually stronger than words if you use it correctly. Basically, a common problem that we can approach for leadership is clarify the problem, create a solution, convince people, and make them compel. Imagine in doing your workplace, the hardest part is convince. We have a team, and we're able to clarify the problems, and we can create a solution. But the hard part is that we take that solution, and then we have to take the solution and convince the other people that we are right. That is the hardest part, because that's where a lot of misunderstanding comes from. So convince people by using simple diagram can be very efficient and very convenient, and it can help a lot of people with communication. So basically, this whole thing is about visual thinking. And one of the visual thinking underwritten rule is whoever best describes the problem is the one most likely to solve it. So if somebody who is able to describe the problem, able to paint the picture of the problem, they're able to find the details of the problem and be able to find the fittings, the findings. So for instance, if somebody who's able to describe what the issue is in a company, basically knows ins and outs. So basically, the person who can able to draw the pictures, they're able to find the solution and provide implementation. I'll give you guys another example. So imagine this is the 1970s. All right, this is the 1970s, and there's three gentlemen who just got off work, and happy hours. They're going to have a drink. They went to a bar, and they're talking about their life, afterlife, and they tell them, well, what's going to happen? What's going on? And let's just name these three people. The person on the left is Art. Middle one is called Dick, and on the right is called Donald. Dick and Donald, they were talking and drinking and realized that, hey, they're kind of talking about and they got into a conversation of, oh, the economy it's getting worse, and we don't understand the economy. How do you improve it? And Art here, he's an economist, and told these two, explained to Dick and Donald that, hey, economic is not as hard as you think. Well, it takes a supply and demand, and starting to go this in direction of that. Dick and Donald said, oh, it's too complicated. Can you simplify it for me? So Art says, sure, I can do that for you. So Art turned around and asked one of the waitresses and says, can you give me a piece of napkin? And he got a napkin, and then he decided to draw something for Dick and Donald. This is what he drew. He drew a line across the x-axis. It's called tax rates. So from 0 all the way to there, it's getting more. That means that we're taxing people more percentage. The y-axis is the tax revenue. So as it goes up, the more tax revenue the government is going to get. So if government gets more tax revenue, that means they're able to offer more services for the public. We can see that if we have a 0 tax rate, we're going to get 0 tax revenue, right? As tax rate increases, tax revenue also increases up to a certain point. Up to a certain point where we charge too much tax rates, and this starts to have, there will be some problem with the citizens, and the complaining and argue probations, where tax revenue will start to go down because people start to evade tax and escape taxes. So that basically means that there's a curve. What the most important part is the top. If the government is able to figure out the tax rate that has to maximize the tax revenue, basically they're able to make all the citizens happy. So if citizens happy, economy will get better and it will improve. So basically, that's what he draw. What he draw on the back of the napkin. And what happened is that Dick and Donald decided to use that and said, hey Art, that's a very nice diagram. Can I have it? And I gave it to him and said, so it's just a piece of napkin. So he took, Dick and Donald took it, and then they handed it over to President Ford, and it becomes the backbone of American economic policy. There's some information I forgot to tell you. So what happened to Art, Dick, and Donald? So here it is. Art, his last name is Laffer. He's the economist for the government for many decades. Dick, he is the 46th Vice President of the United States. And Donald, he's the 13th and 21st United States Secretary of Defense. So this kind of history, the whole graph of backbones and the curve, they call it 1974 Laffer curve. In psychology, we know that we have two brains, left side and right side. But we can get into the psychology part of it, but it's going to be very, very complicated. So I'm going to make it more simplified for you. Imagine that our brain, we have two engines. The first engine is to look at the focus and the connect visuals together. That's the first engine. And second engine is to link words together to solve problem. What happened is that in our education, our standard education system, we don't have a lot of training on the first engine. But however, we have a lot of training on the second engines. However, as humans, we are visual processing human beings. So our engines, our first engines keep on running. It doesn't stop. So whenever we see an object or a picture or visuals, we remember it. And if we don't use it, we keep it in the back of our head. And one day, if we need it, the brain, the mind, the engine will filter it and will take it and process it and take it out for future use. So I'm going to do a demonstration test, and I just want you to relax and look at the screen, and just it will be very quick. All right. So, if I say to you guys, it will be difficult to ask you guys what is the sixth picture of that segment. It's going to be very hard because what happened is that our brain, our minds, we look at the pictures, we understand the pictures, but we don't tell our minds to process it. So they don't know what to do with the pictures. So the picture has been stored in our mind, but since we don't have the method to process it, we are unable to take it out.
Was it the woman? I'm curious now. I'm trying to go back.
Oprah? No.
No. The blonde woman was after her.
Oh, that's wait. So Dan actually invents something called 6x6 rules. So 6x6 rule means that there are 6 primary ways to see things, and when we see things and in the visuals, there are 6 ways to process it in the words, and there's a 6th method to show it what we see. So just keep it simple as what we see, what we show. So I hand out a napkin for you guys. So I want you to put it in front of you. So imagine this is the napkin. All right. So here's a tip for you guys. Sometimes a lot of people, when they stare at a blank screen, a blank sheet of paper, our minds went blank. One of the techniques that we can use is that we write our name on the top left corner, and we put a circle around it. What happens is that when we do that, our mind triggers and start to brainstorm things. It's just a one way. It's just a technique that if you ever try to brainstorm and you got stuck, just top left corner, just write your name and put a circle. So I want you guys to imagine that we're having a party. Including yourself, there are 6 people coming to the pizza party. So what we're going to do is we're going to draw a big pizza. And we're going to divide that by 6 pieces. So these 6 pieces is representing ways of we see. So this will be called 6 times 6 rule. The first piece is called who and what. So for the who and what, it's basically talking about the object, what we see. For instance, like this is a dog, and we see a dog or we see a cat. In order for us, the simple way for us to show it is to draw a portrait. So for the example of a cat, we can just draw a cat. Okay. The next one is how many. If we see 3 cats on the street, we can basically, but in order for us to show it on paper, we can draw 3 cats. So what happens if we see 100 cats? We can't just draw 100 cats on the paper. So the best way for us to show it, to process it, is a chart. It could be a bar graph, line graph, a chart, so that it's easy for us to show how many or the quantity of what we see. Next one is where. So basically this is the position of the object. So what the ways we can show this is by a map. The 4th piece is called when. A way to describe when is the time. So we can draw a time graph, just a time. Now, the fifth one is called how. In order for us to do how is basically we use a flowchart. So, but in order for us to use this piece, we need all 4. We need to describe all 4 before we can use the 5th one. So if we're going to describe how things are going, like the cause and the effect, the best way to show it is using a simple diagram of flowchart. And the last piece is why. The best way for us to show why is using an equation. So what we can put down is A plus B equals C. So it's basically it's describing the underlying of the reason why. Because something happens because the answer. So A plus B, the result is C. So this is the 6th way of us, the primary way for us to see the visuals, and 6 ways to able to process this information and show our result to people. Sometimes we don't do it in this detail because a lot of things that we've been doing automatically. So sometimes we combine 2, combine 3. So this is just a way of showing that 6 times 6 rules. Oh.
Good diagram.
Okay. Now, demonstration test 2. Do you guys still remember the demonstration 1 test, the sequence of pictures? It's really difficult. Me too. I don't even know the first one and the last one. So, but however, like I said before, our first engine of our mind, visual mind, is running. It keeps on running. It never stops. So the picture is still in our mind. It just we need to find a way to take it out. So here's a demonstration test number 2. I want you. So I want you to tell me the pictures that you remember. Think about the pictures that we see in demonstration 1 and tell me if it's a left or right. All right? Here's the first one.
Left.
Is it a left, right?
Left.
Left. That's correct.
Right.
How about this one?
Fork.
How about this
Right.
one?
Right.
Left.
Left.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
Yes, I got it. I can only remember up to 6 though.
Left. Left. Left.
Left.
Left. Right.
Very good.
Right.
Amazing. This test just shows us that on the first demonstration test, we can't really remember the pictures. But in the second demonstration test, you guys all remembered. So this is the power of pictures. Thank you very much. And my website is frankyang.ca. And if you want to follow me on Twitter, it's Frank Seminars. And thank you all for listening to my presentation.